Relationships. They're complicated. This month's Friends Forever was quite the interesting one as it pairs up Applejack with Cherry Jubilee. I always look forward to the issues that feature characters that we haven't seen in a while, so let's find out if this one was worth the wait. While AJ is helping out at Cherry Hill Ranch, a traveling Wild West show makes a stop at Dodge Junction, and it turns out that Cherry Jubilee isn't on the best of terms with its star, Buffalo Bull, who is neither a buffalo nor a bull. And yes, they do acknowledge that. The main draw of this comic for me is the relationship that Jubilee and Bull have, or rather, had. It's the driving force of this story, and it's much more interesting than that one mare that Flim and Flam were fighting over way back in issue number 9, which also happened to involve Dodge Junction. Seriously, what is it with this place and failed romantic relationships? Instead of a petty squabble between two siblings over a mare, who did make a cameo in this comic, it's a more complicated relationship where both sides felt really hurt. I originally thought that Jubilee was kind of overreacting, but when I actually found out what had happened, I could kinda see where she was coming from. Both Jubilee and Buffalo Bull had valid reasons to stay mad at each other. On one hand, I could see why Bull would be bitter towards Jubilee for leaving him hanging after proposing to her in front of a crowd. That kind of rejection is humiliating, even without a bunch of other people watching. On the other hand, I could also understand why Jubilee would be upset at Bull for basically stranding her in Dodge Junction and replacing her with another mare using her old stage name. Both sides had a right to be mad at each other, and it keeps the conflict between them from feeling shallow. This issue also calls back to the last roundup in a way that's relevant to the plot. It could have been beyond easy to just casually reference the episode, but instead, this comic uses the last roundup's themes as a springboard for its own. And the conflict is different enough to not feel like a straight repeat. When AJ tries to keep Jubilee from going off on Bull, she tells her that she's being blinded by stubborn pride, and it's keeping her from making the right decisions. It's a great way for both of the starring characters to shine because it not only shows how AJ has learned from her experiences, but it also shows her passing that knowledge on to Jubilee, who in turn uses it to resolve her own problems. And I'm also glad that they didn't just get back together. While they did reconcile, they also realized that their past relationship has come and gone, and I think that was a better way of handling things than just having them get back together. However, while the relationship between Jubilee and Buffalo Bull was the most interesting part of the story for me, it's also where my main problems lie, because it leaves me wanting more, but not in a good way. While it was great to find out the details about what happened between these two, it's kind of a shame that it's just dumped on us at the beginning of the third act. Granted, it wasn't revealed too close to the end, giving the story some time to show the two of them having a conversation and getting closure, so the placement of this moment is fine. But the problem is that it dumps everything on us right then and there. It would have been nice if we had gotten bits and pieces of the truth leading up to this moment instead of finding it out all at once. In fact, Applejack's line about Calamity Maine not aging could have been one of these hints, since that was what Jubilee was called when she was performing with Bull. But instead, it's the only hint that we get and they don't really follow up on it. I just feel that this conflict really wasn't used to its fullest potential, and while I still enjoyed what I read, I just can't stop thinking about how much better it could have been. And lastly, there's the nitpick of the day, the new Calamity Maine. I feel that the whole point of her being a replacement for Jubilee would have been better if she looked a little more like her. Hell, they already have similar coat colors. Simply changing her main color to any shade of red would have made her look similar enough to see her as a replacement, yet different enough to tell the two mares apart. And it would also explain why AJ wouldn't suspect that this was a different mare from the one that performed in Ponyville when she was a filly. All in all, Friends Forever 33 had a story worth getting invested in, and both of its stars benefit from it, but it does leave me feeling that it wasn't utilizing its conflict as much as it could have. Still, it's a worthwhile read that can serve as a companion piece to the last roundup, which is a nice bonus if that was an episode that you enjoyed. So next month's pair is gonna be... oh... maybe I'll let Kevin take this one. So what do you think of Friends Forever 33? Swarm that comment section below or bug me on social media, and consider supporting me through Patreon or PayPal art commissions. Until next time, keep it sketchy, folks.